everyone. We are here today in a very special place under the sea, joined by Nemo, there he goes, and Dory, our special friends, with our guest today, Dr. Elizabeth, who is a professor in environmental science, and she will be helping us explain some major issues that are going on here in Dory's and Nemo's community, referred to as coral bleaching. Coral, as Elizabeth was explaining to me earlier, is a very sensitive organism made of calcium carbonate, and it is going through extreme danger at the moment. Elizabeth, would you like to explain a little bit about what coral is, what it's made up of, and what type of processes it goes through when referring to coral bleaching?
So coral is actually is made of calcium carbonate, and it works with this other organism called algae. They have this symbiotic relationship where they both depend on each other to basically live. The algae depends on the coral to survive and live and have like a home, and the coral depends on the algae to get nutrients.
So Elizabeth, as the temperatures of the ocean are rising every year, the algae and the coral goes through a specific process together, right? Something happens to the algae. Can you go through a little bit and explain what is that effect and what happens during this process?
Oh, definitely. This process is called overinflation, and what this is when the temperature in the ocean begins to rise, the algae inside the coral becomes active. And the coral doesn't necessarily like this, so what they end up doing is they kind of expel the algae from the coral. And this is where coral bleaching happens, because when the algae gets out, like there's these clouds of algae being expelled out, and the coral begins to lose its color and becomes pale.
I see, okay. So because coral is a live organism working together symbiotically with algae, does coral die? Does it go through a process where it actually dies off, or what does that look like when it's losing so much algae, which algae naturally gives them the nutrition? It gives the coral its nutrition. What happens?
Bleaching doesn't necessarily kill them off immediately, but if the algae isn't replaced, the coral basically begins to starve and die out. That's what ends up happening in these coral reefs. The bleaching, what it does is it kills these corals, and they all begin to die off. So that's why a rise in sea temperatures causes mass coral bleaching in the coral reefs.
I see. So it doesn't necessarily mean that this loss of algae kills them. It actually starves them to death.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. So the process of coral bleaching, what is that? Why do we call it bleaching? Where does that name come from, and why do we refer to it as specifically coral bleaching? Is there something behind this?
This process, so when the temperature goes above 30 degrees, the algae, they lose their ability to convert solar energy. And because of this, algae begins to convert this lack of energy into reactive forms of oxygen, like peroxide and bleach. And literally the light that the coral needs becomes destructive.
I see. Okay. So from my understanding, this process of coral bleaching between algae and coral, their symbiotic relationship is necessary to sustain one another's life. So in the future, if we don't make any changes in our environment, what does the future hold for these coral reefs, for our friends behind us here, as we can see these beautiful coral reefs glowing in marvelous colors? We have pinks and oranges and purples and blues, and also these coral reefs sustain a lot of organisms. There's several fish and other marine forms of life that live off of these coral reefs and use them as a home for their safety. Is that correct?
Yeah, algae does give coral their color, and if they lose the algae, they lose their color, and the lack of nutrients that the corals experience, they start to starve and die out. And what we've seen is the spike of temperature has caused coral reefs to die in short periods of time. Large amounts of corals die in a week, a month. They die very quickly, and if this doesn't, we don't begin to fix this. It can take 10 to 15 years for the fastest growing corals to bounce back. So it is important for these organisms, because the corals are their homes, and it is important, you know, they live here, and if these corals begin to die out, they lose their home, they lose their nutrients, they lose their food.
Right. So essentially we're seeing a chain of events happening here. So if we are losing these corals at such a fast rate, we are losing other organisms that go along with it. Other fish and things like that, other forms of marine life. So I wanted to thank you today. I wanted to thank everyone for helping us shine a light on this major issue. Please help us save the environment and these amazing marine animals, so that we can keep improving their sustainability and their life.